What is up, world? It's Thursday. We're gonna hello. We're gonna human. I hope you're ready, because I am. Tonight I'm hanging out with my my good friend, Alex Nicole Windsor. Just waiting for her to join. There you are. What a badass. There we go. Beep. What's up, girl?
Hi.
How you doing?
Hold on a second.
Yeah, do your thing.
I wasn't fully ready yet. All right, here we go. Hey, how's it going?
I've done that. Oh, it's going pretty good. I've definitely done that a few times. Forgot the headphones, forgotten to hit record on because I always run a separate mic to make sure that my audio is right too. That's the one thing that I'm waiting for Instagram to do it. It's just let us use the computer and we can have good microphones. But whatever.
Right. It's funny because I go live with my organization Gritty and Pink at least a couple times a month, and so we're constantly having that same struggle too. It's gosh, if we could just have the ease of use or the how easy it is for people to join in on Instagram, but have the format for Facebook and things like that. That would be awesome, but of course not, right? So
yeah, I goofed around with that a lot as I was first doing this, because I wanted to as an audio engineer, I'm I want it to be nice and sound good and be easy, and there's so many good programs that do it. It's but it wasn't doing what I wanted, and to me there's just something fun about it being on Instagram that I really enjoy. So it's whatever, I'll just work within the limitations of the platform I like. So
totally. I mean, it's got I totally get it, because you've got this this access to everybody. You can reach all of these people. People can just jump on. So it's super flexible. That is awesome. But yeah, I just wish that, after a year of having no other option but to live stream, it's okay, can we get some updates? Can we make some progress here? And it's funny because I am, for somebody that, spends a lot of time in, guitar recording, and that has I've got a whole recording, you can't really see it, but I have a whole recording set up over here. You would think that I'd be more tech savvy than I am, but I'm really not. That's all Patrick.
Really?
So, oh, totally. Absolutely. Yeah.
He's funny, yeah.
He's teaching me. I've asked him to start teaching me basics about recording, so that I don't have to run to him every 6 minutes when I'm trying to record a guitar track, and he can come in here and help me. So he's been very good about patiently showing me all the inner workings of Pro Tools and things like that. So
yeah, I mean, Pro Tools has been my jam since, for 20 years.
Sorry,
now.
Logic. I mean Logic. I don't know why I said Pro Tools. Logic.
It was all my Pro Tools vibes just streaming out of my body, just coming at you. But yeah, I've been doing it forever, and I've got to say, I am a big fan of your husband. That's how we know each other.
It is.
He's a pretty fantastic person. I think that was something that we were talking about the other day, is having a really good partner. You need a good partner in life, and I feel you and Patrick are you guys are a team the same way that me and Tanya are a team. It's you two make sense together. It's the perfect complement. It just works.
Thank you. And he's chiming in here. He's saying it's nice to feel needed.
I know, right?
He's in the other room while I've commandeered the studio. So
yeah, that's what we have to do here. Tanya always works up at the kitchen table. So one of the questions that I always like to start with is the what were you doing just before? And it's just funny because you're talking about feeling needed. Tanya realized we forgot to lock the kids' windows because it was nice, and so she's hey, it's stuck, and I'm I gotta run. I'm trying to get into my mojo. I can't go back in there. I just got through bedtime, so I had to bust up there, and it's well, at least I was needed. So
exactly.
What were you doing just before we sat down?
Literally right before we sat down. So we have started using HelloFresh. I know a lot of people on here probably have seen me post stories about the different things that we make through HelloFresh. So we were just making our HelloFresh dinner.
Yeah.
And I was running a little bit late. I didn't have my face on yet or anything. So I'm okay, we got to pick they send you 3 meals, and I'm like, we have to pick whatever the fastest one is and make it. Doesn't matter what it is. Like, that's what we're going to have to go with. So that's what we did. So it went by really quickly. Generally with those meals, because what I like about it is so fresh. It literally, they send you everything that you need to make it. And it's all completely like from scratch. So like if there's a special sauce that you have to use,
Yeah.
it's like you have to make the sauce. Like they don't send you a bottle of it or anything. So it's like, okay, you have to like, dice the lemons and squeeze the lemon juice and like mix all the ingredients and everything. So it's nice, but it's also a pain when you're like, busy musicians.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, and so normally it takes a long time to like prep those meals, but tonight is actually pretty easy. Like if they say, oh, this will take you 20 minutes, it's like, okay, we know that's bullshit. It's going to take closer to an hour. So, but tonight it actually was 20 minutes. And so I just got finished fixing dinner and eating dinner, and then I like scurried in here to get everything set up.
What'd you make? What was it?
It was a Dijon chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And green, like a salad, I don't know what the name is. It's like a grape salad with like walnuts and stuff in it. It's actually pretty good. I'm a picky eater in general, and like salads are not my jam. But it was really good. And garlic bread.
Oh,
so
nice.
It was good. It was simple, and it's like, teaching me all the inner workings. It's not just the food that's awesome. Mm-hmm. It's like teaching me all of the like how to cook. Like, okay, to make garlic bread, which is so simple and so basic. Like, you literally just have to like make this special garlic butter and then like cook it for this long and etc. So and because when we spoke yesterday, and when we were talking about being from a small town, one of the things, I think this is like a nice segue into being from a small town, because one of the things that I think that coming from a small town is like your palate, like for what the foods that you like and eat, is so much more limited. You are not used to trying a ton of different exotic things, or really learning how to cook a wide variety of things. It's like, at least in my household, it was like you had your very simple, like you had your chicken or your steak, and then you had your mashed potato, your potato, not even your vegetable, like your form of potato, whether it be mashed or fried or baked or whatever. And then, you might have like a mac and cheese or whatever. So,
like I think about that too, because I grew up in a small town in North Carolina, but we were originally from New York. So my mom, like, that was one of the really hard things when we left New York and went down to North Carolina, was she didn't have access to any of the Italian food she was used to having. So like when I was a kid, whenever we would go up to visit New York, like 2 or 3 times a year, she would come back with like a cooler full of this, like, Polio was the name of the brand that I was obsessed with, like mozzarella cheese and like different beef, like certain beef she couldn't get, I guess. But there was just like a cooler full of all the stuff she couldn't get in like the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. She would just have to come back with. But yeah, we definitely had like, we ate the weird food as compared to like the rest of the North Carolinians, because it was all like very Italian, and like French kind of stuff. And yeah, we had very saucy food. My mom's mom was French, so it was very saucy stuff. I grew up in New Bern, North Carolina, friend that is asking.
Awesome. Yeah, I my family, they had in our household, it was a very firm, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And that applied to food as well. It's like, okay, well, if you're, we cook chicken this way and we make, the green beans this way. And then like, there wasn't a whole lot of branching out from that. So like one of the exciting things for me moving from a small town to a big city is just learning, like trying different cuisines, trying things that I never got an opportunity to try before. So that was so cool.
Yeah,
like, Chris, thank you so much. I'm so like, that warms my heart that I've been inspiring you to play. Thank you. I hope you stick with it. So yeah.
See, you're such an inspiration. Well, let's talk about that. I mean, that's a big part of your life is, being an educator. Like, so Alex works, for anybody that doesn't know, Alex works in the lessons program at Guitar Center Corporate and is a major influence. And you have the most punk rock fucking way that you ended up getting that job.
Yeah. So those of you out there who, don't, that I just met or don't really know me that well. I actually am from Illinois, and after college, I started working, or while I was in college, I guess, for my side job, I was working at Guitar Center. And after graduating, I had started teaching privately on my own, and I really wanted to get involved in the lessons program. I wanted to run my own lessons program through Guitar Center. And they, you know, when they first started opening stores in Chicago, they had one location that taught lessons, and I really wanted the opportunity to work there. And so, you know, I bugged my district manager about it, and I was like, listen, I love selling guitars. I love being around guitars all day, but this is my passion.
Right.
So he put me over there. He's like, okay, we're gonna, you know, move some things around, and we're gonna get you in here. What's funny about that, and I don't know how much of this you know, the person that I replaced was Patrick.
Wait.
Yes. So
Oh,
the
I
person
think
that
I might know that from when I interviewed Patrick. So I stole Patrick away from Guitar Center.
yes,
That was one of my accomplishments. So when I was at Chicago Music Exchange, like that's
yeah,
where I farmed talent. I farmed it from Guitar Center. I was like, no, there's really good people there. Let me steal these people.
yeah, totally. Because I mean, you came from Guitar Center too originally, right?
Mm-hmm.
A long time
Yeah.
ago. So yeah, so you get
Yeah.
it. The
Oh
people are
yeah.
honestly like they're the best part of the company are like the people that work
Oh
there. I
God,
think
yeah.
you know I've met so many amazing people, but so Patrick was the studio manager there, and so they took him and they made him an operations manager
Uh-huh.
in another location. But there for a while, you know, he trained me on everything and like, you know, showed me the ropes and like introduced me to all of the parents and like made it a super easy transition for me to come in and like run the lessons program, right?
Yeah.
And I'll, you know, thereafter after he even transferred, I would like hit him up, I'd call him and I'd be like, yo, what's going on with Lisa or whatever? Like, what's going on with
Yeah.
this family? Like, what's their deal? And you know, he was always a good sport and super helpful and like answered a lot of questions because there really wasn't much of an education program at the time. I think we had like maybe 30 stores in the entire country that had lessons. So it was very, it felt very much like the Wild West. Like we were just kind
Yeah.
of doing things and doing whatever worked.
I
And
feel like
so,
that's music retail. Like
yes,
both Guitar Center and Chicago Music Exchange just constantly figure this out.
yeah, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
that's totally on like par for the course for the for the industry. So we're just like, you know, making it work with what we have, right? And so you know, and he was very good about showing me, okay, like this is what the expectations are, like this is where, you know, the what the policy is, but you know, this is what it is, but this is may not be what works. And so
Right. Right.
you're in charge, you make the decisions, et cetera. And so one of the things that I started doing right off the bat was I just started doing things my way. And like,
Yeah.
you know, if I had, you know, one of the things that we did was our rescheduling policy was just, it was terrible. It wasn't flexible. You couldn't really reschedule lessons no matter what happened. If you had a death in the family, an emergency, et cetera, like there
That's
was
not cool.
absolutely, yeah, there was no flexibility at all. And like, and, you know, I guess on paper, maybe that looks like, you know, well, ideally we wouldn't be in this situation. Well, that's just not how real life works. So,
Yeah, truly.
yeah, so I had to break a lot of rules. I was like, you know what? They want this business to grow. They want it to do well. I want it to do well.
Mm-hmm.
People want to take lessons. They want to learn how to play the instrument. So it's like I'm gonna just do what's working for everybody.
Yeah.
So I broke some rules. I did things my way. I really stepped in and like, you know, took ownership of the program and was like, this is what it takes to be successful. So this is what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess the entire services team at the time, they ended up, you know, reorganizing and they brought in this guy who was not previously in services, but they brought him in as the vice president. And I didn't know he was the vice president when I confessed all these things to him. But anyway,
Those are the best moments.
right. So he called me. He calls me at the store and he's like, "Hey, Alex, we know that you know your lessons program is doing well. It's grown a lot, and I just want to get some feedback from you on like what seems to work there." And I was like, "Well, I got to be honest with you, dude. Like some of these policies are just shit. Like I can't. I don't make people you know pay me a fee for missing." Lessons if they cancel you know a week in advance or whatever. Like I'm flexible with that. Like I you know had to just kind of go in and
Be a goddamn human.
I had to kind of to go in and do that. And like I had to be you know more flexible with the instructors and with the curriculum and with you know students in general. And so I was like just tearing really shredding the program to the person that was in charge of it. But fortunately, you know, he was taking it over and he agreed with everything that I said. He's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like these things have to change. So that's when they're like, all right, we want you here at the support center in California. Are you are you coming? And I was like, now mind you, this is in December of 2015. And I don't know if any of you out there that are watching have ever been to Chicago in December, but it is a
Mm-hmm.
perfect time to move to LA. So
Truly,
I was
truly.
like, yeah, can I go now?
Yeah.
But it was honestly a really hard decision. And it's not because I didn't want to do it or that it
Mm-hmm.
didn't sound like a great opportunity. I mean, they basically wanted to bring me to California to help scale my program out to every location and to like just improve the program overall. And it's not that I didn't want to do that. It's that I was truly happy in Chicago. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I liked what I was doing. I had a lot of friends there in Chicago. Patrick had actually just started working for you guys and he was loving
Mm-hmm.
his job. And, you know, we had actually just started dating at the time too. Like we've been friends for
I
a long time,
had
but then
big
we had
plans
just,
for Patrick.
I know, sorry. I know. So I was very reluctant and they gave me a weekend. They're like, yeah, you need to let us know by Monday. Like it was on a Thursday, and they're like, hey, just let us know by Monday. I'm like, okay, cool. Just a weekend to make the biggest decision of my life.
Wow.
Um, so I was like, you know what, I can always come back. I know that
Mm-hmm.
this life will always be here, but I don't know that I'll ever get another opportunity to do this again, especially not one that was as accommodating as Guitar Center's. You know, having a
Yeah.
job. You know, they set
Mm-hmm.
me up with a reload package so that I could have a place to live while I was finding an apartment and things like that. So I'm like,
Awesome.
we need to just do it. We just need to pack our shit and go. And then if it sucks, then we come back.
Yeah. And I
um,
even remember I told both of you when you guys were leaving, I was like, Patrick, you can come back. Alex, if it doesn't work out, I will hire you. We'll figure this out. We'll get it done. Yeah, it's hard,
exactly.
man. It's so hard moving across the country because I did that too, and I was working for Lowe's Home Improvement at the time, and it was the same thing. Like it was just an opportunity that came up. I had fallen in love with Chicago. Every ounce of my soul knew that I needed to be here, and like the store at 79th and Cicero on the south side of Chicago opened up, and I was like, oh, that's only 10 miles away. Little did I know that was like 2 hours in traffic. But
Oh yeah.
uh,
Yep.
that was when I ended up going to Guitar Center, was because it was like just too far to go every single day. But man, like it's a hard decision. Like when you are happy in life and like especially moving away from your family, like that shit's hard, dude. That's not an easy decision for anybody to make, especially not in a weekend. Like
Mm-mm.
I like thought about Chicago. Like I like felt like when I left after visiting for 6 days, like I just knew that I needed to go, but I still like had to like figure it out. And then like this job just popped open, and I was able to just zip, 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 and like it was insane how everything just unfolded. So I'm a big believer in that. When it's meant to happen, things just happen easily, and I felt like that was exactly how it worked when you and Patrick moved out to LA.
Yeah, we had talked about it previously too. We had talked about like how, one of our goals was that we both, even before we were dating, it was like we both knew that our goals, we wanted to both end up in LA someday.
Yeah.
We figured maybe one of us actually would do it. It's just the kind of the place that we both saw ourselves ending up and where we wanted to be. So it was like you have like the reservations and the fears in one hand, and then you have like the opportunity in the other hand, and it's like, okay, we gotta bite the bullet and we gotta do it. And so and as much as I miss everybody back home, especially like you said, family,
Mm-hmm.
my parents, I know, really struggled with it at first. They still struggle with it sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of an only child, so it was really, and my parents don't travel. Like they're not
Right.
big travelers. They're homebodies, and I got them on the plane for the first time to come visit me after I moved. That was the first time they'd ever been on a plane.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. That's a big deal.
So they just kicked my ring light here. So they were, I made them try new things, have new experiences in addition to that. So
Wow, look at you. I hope my kids rattle my cage one good day. What do you think is, what have you noticed, like, as someone that, grew up in a small town, but then was in Chicago? What do you feel is other than the weather, obvi, what do you feel has been like the biggest change between Chicago and Los Angeles in your mind?
um, wow. What's funny about LA is that there are so many transplants from Chicago here. I feel
Really?
like, oh yeah, big time. I feel like we've met, Patrick and I have probably met I don't know, every one in four people, probably 25% of the people we've met out here are from Chicago. Or if they're not from Chicago, they're usually from Detroit or Minneapolis or some other
Hmm.
Midwest city. And so it's interesting because it still has, that when you meet these people, you still get that warm, fuzzy Midwest feeling.
Hmm.
But I think that, yeah, the biggest thing is, oh God, the food. I'm about to
Yeah.
shit all over LA food. I'm sorry, guys. It's it's not bad. It's not
Right.
bad.
Right.
There are a lot of really, really great restaurants out here. But food, Chicago food is just like, it is so ingrained in the culture
Hmm.
that LA doesn't really have like a food. Like they have, I mean, they've got hot dogs. Like hot dogs are like kind of a thing. Um,
Yeah.
but they don't
I
really have,
LA hot dogs. What's on an LA dog?
they don't have like a signature dog. They just, I don't know, they like hot dogs. Like they just,
Come
I don't
on,
know.
Los
Like it's
Angeles.
strange. Yeah, they don't have like a
Try a
signature
little.
food. They put avocados and everything. There you go. There's the California.
The
If you
avocado
go
dog.
anywhere and you order a California burger, it's got avocado on it. Like that's what makes it California. So,
And in
um,
Chicago, if you order a California burger, it's gonna have avocado on it. That's like,
yes,
yeah, that's California.
yeah. So it's I don't know. There's not really like a staple out here. They
Yeah.
don't really have like a signature pizza. They don't really have like you know seafood tacos, yeah, right. I guess the seafood's probably really good. We don't really eat seafood, so
Got
that
it.
yeah, of course we move close to the ocean, and we don't really like seafood. That's
Eh,
one of the things that we're trying to find like seafood that we enjoy. That's not Long John Silver's.
yeah.
So
I see when I lived in North Carolina, we were like half an hour from the beach, and I was just not a seafood eater. And my dad like loved fish, and my mom did too, and I just didn't like it. And it took moving to Chicago before I like really got into seafood.
yeah,
So it's
totally.
like so bass backwards.
Totally. Yeah, and that's like I feel like the food is, and I don't mean to it's not bad. It's just like, yeah, I haven't been really blown away by anything. It's like Chicagoans really take pride in the food. And like
Hmm.
in LA, it's not a big thing. It's not something that, people get super stoked about. It's like, you can go to a lot of their exotic food is really good. Like we find a lot of really good Indian places, and
Yeah.
the Mexican food, of course, is spectacular, because we're,
Right.
closer to the border and stuff. Um, but like there isn't like a California like pizza or burger or anything like that. So that's probably one of the biggest things. I think that a lot of people, for another thing that's really different about Chicago is like just the layout of the city is
Hmm.
so not what I'm used to with
Yeah.
Chicago. Um, in Chicago, you've got the loop, and you've kind of got this like very elaborate like public transit system, and LA is just fucking all over the place. Like there is no
Yeah.
like central place. Like the first thing that I noticed when I came here was um, nobody really, at least at the time, nobody really went downtown. Like that wasn't a thing
I've
that people
never been
did.
to downtown. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
never, of all the times I've been to LA, not one's been to downtown.
No, like people don't really go to downtown. It's not like there's
Yeah.
not like this central hub or anything. And it's like
Hmm.
you've got Hollywood, and you've got Santa Monica, and you've got Beverly Hills, and you've got all these different pockets, and
Hmm.
they're just kind of all sporadically spread out. So I think for someone, and luckily, I mean, coming from a small town and also living in the suburbs, it's like, okay, I
Hmm.
kind of know, I'm not familiar with having to navigate. Yeah, Alexa said the grid system. Exactly. Right. We don't have a grid here. It's a fucking free for all. Like it's just kind of like, we'll put this, there's not a mountain here. Let's put something here. That's
Yeah.
basically it. It just works around the mountains.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that for people coming from like, especially the more urban parts of Chicago are, in for quite a surprise when they get here and they're like, oh shit, like I have to have a car, like I have to be able to drive
Oh,
places,
yeah.
like the public transit is a bit of a joke out here. So yeah, I think that it's interesting. I noticed that I don't really get like road rage out here
Yeah.
for what it's worth. Yeah, you would think, because it's awful. Traffic out here is terrible.
Oh
You'll
my
sit
God.
you'll sit on in the same highway for hours. Like it's
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous. But it's like most of the time you're sitting there, you've got the beach over on the left. You've got your mountains on the right, you've got,
Yeah.
it's the weather's nice. It's always, sunny and relatively warm. So it's like, and if I'm gonna be stuck in traffic anywhere, at least I'm stuck in a place where it's like kind of nice.
Yeah.
So that being said, the LA drivers are exponentially worse than Chicago drivers, like no question.
Even
It's
worse than
terrible.
Chicago suburban drivers because
Yes. Oh
they're pretty
yes.
bad. They're
It's
driving pretty crazy.
I don't think I have ever I don't think I've ever really spent much time on the highways and not seen an accident of some sort. Like it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And that's why they really need to fix their system, their public
Yeah.
transit system. So
Yeah, truly. What do you think has been so one of the bands that you're in Los Angeles is Gritty and Pink. Big thing about female empowerment. So what do you feel has been different like music scene wise between LA versus Chicago? And what's kind of been your jam music scene wise?
yes, that's a really great question because the music scene here in LA is very interesting because of the fact that the music scene and the entertainment scene is this is like one of the home bases for like the entertainment industry. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got like it's not just I feel like in Chicago you have a lot of people that are just into it and they're playing music because they're passionate about it and it's not necessarily a career. Some people it is, but it's a little more like everybody's kind of just like on the same page as far as skill level and like expectations and gigs and things like that. But like out here, you could play a gig, and I had a friend who played a gig and he ended up playing bass for Avril Lavigne. Like he got scouted for Avril Lavigne's band, like while he was at a jam. So there's always that like lingering, like, what's gonna come from this, and of course you've got lots of pros out here. And I think that it kind of took me a while to really insert myself into the music scene that I'm in now, just because, well, when I first moved here, part of my agreement with Guitar Center was that I would work for 2 years at least. I had a contract, and at the end of that, if anything happened within those 2 years to where I was no longer employed, I had to pay back all of the money they gave me to relocate plus tax. So I'm like, okay, can't fuck this up. Got to stay employed for 2 years. Got to concentrate.
Right.
So the first 2 years that I was out here, which was 2016 and 2017, I didn't really pursue music at all. Like I was just so zoned in on like, okay, got to focus on my job. Plus I was traveling a lot. Anytime we opened a new store, I was flying out. So I was gone at least once a month. It was way too crazy for me to have any kind of like commitment.
Right.
So once that contract was up and I started to, I had the freedom to kind of do whatever I wanted. That's when I started playing in different bands, and I started, trying to just meet as many people as possible. A big thing out here are the jams. So we have just about every big venue has a jam. And so by playing in these jams, I was able to meet a ton of other musicians. That's how I was able to meet the current band that I'm in right now. That's how I was able to recruit more female players to be in this Gritty and Pink female empowerment project. And from that, we basically just took all of the different women that I had met, and that, Shira, Shira Lee was in, she had the Shira Girl stage from Warped Tour. I don't know if you've been to Warped Tour, but she's like one of the founding members of that, of the Shira. She is the founding member of the Shira Girl stage from Warped Tour. So she reached out to me, asked me to play bass in her band. And of course I was like, yes, I'd love to. And then she started talking about this larger project, which was like, okay, now that Warped Tour is ending, I want to shift our focus, and I want to talk about, or I want to, have this, basically this platform for women, for female musicians. Started recruiting, and then we started having our own shows and hosting our own jams out here, with just all female musicians. And it was so cool to see because, back in Chicago, again, I didn't really know, I knew some very awesome female musicians, but I didn't know too many. I didn't know that many. And it's like out here, it's pretty incredible how many women we've been able to find and bring into our group and all these shows that we've been able to play. So it's pretty exciting. It's very unique. I feel like the LA music scene, to bring it back full circle, I guess, the LA music scene is very interesting, in my opinion. because yeah, you have just a lot of diverse people. You've got pros, you've got people
Hmm.
that are, just doing it because they're passionate about it. You've got, all different types of characters out there trying to make
All the
music.
peoples with their dreams. It's like, I feel like it really does, you get every genre because there's one of the things that I enjoyed anytime I was out in LA is there really is still like the glam rock people are like that scene is still a thing. That
But yeah.
like you could what was that at oh god, the Roxy. It was like a Monday night and what was it? Metal Show was the name of the band back then. This is like early 2000s. But like, oh my god, they just like did all the hair band songs. Dude, come on, that mess is fun. But yeah, like I feel like LA will like it doesn't it refuses to let go of that scene. But I mean then you have like there's actually a pretty decent like folk scene out there too and you're more in like the punk and metal scene these days.
Yeah, more so I would say, yeah, the punk, the like, I don't know, indie, some of the indie pop.
Indie,
Yeah, like just, it's
yeah.
kind of all over
Metal
the
school.
middle school. Yeah, middle school,
Thank you,
obviously.
Patrick. You knew what I was talking
um,
about.
yeah, we're kind of, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to put a label on it. Like we do a lot of, it's turned into Steel Panther, exactly. Um, yeah,
We've got some people that know metal school up in
yeah, we
here.
start,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
we
love it. I
start,
love it.
start talking metal. People are chiming in. I love it. Um, metal school. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because like, yeah, I just started playing. The first jam that I started doing was at the Viper Room. On Monday nights, they have what they call the Sunset Jam, and it's really just a very eclectic mix of different songs and styles, and the guy who runs it is very, I think, very good about bringing in different people and bringing in different styles of music, so it's not just like the 80s hair metal Sunset Strip sound.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool. I've had an opportunity to be, I think, in multiple different, work with people of multiple different genres, so which has been really cool.
I think that's
Yeah.
awesome too, because one of the things that you and I have both existed in is the both music retail, but also just the music scene is so male dominated. And I think that it's a really good thing to, I mean, the first time I ever played in a band with another woman, I briefly played in a band in North Carolina where we had there was a lady playing saxophone and that was it. And like I was just such the oddball being a woman and a drummer. Like, it was like totally like a shtick almost. And like it wasn't until I was in Chicago, like when I played with Baby Money and the Down Payments, like that was the first all female band I was ever in. I also did played with like Natalie Grace Alford, who's this incredible artist that I got to play with when I first moved here. But it was through Baby Money and the Down Payments that like then I met bands like the Just Luckies that you were one of the original Just Luckies, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I heard a rumor that they're getting back together.
Oh, I hope so. I hope
Oh, I
so.
heard a rumor from one of the band members.
Ooh, I
But
love it.
but yeah, like I think that it's so important that both in the corporate retail industry, because I mean, as you were talking about, just the stuff with Guitar Center's lesson program and like being so strict about the things because it looks good on paper. I mean, I think that that's what is missing so much in the music scene and in corporate America is that female voice of that bringing the humanity, because that's really what people connect with. I think especially in the current age, that is how you're going to get through to people. Is it's really about what it's not just about the product being good, but it's about the heart behind it. And I think that that's such a big thing. And you hit on something that yesterday where we were talking about like kind of I called it like the old boys club, where like you have to like break into that. So how do you think that's kind of been one of the things that you've been able to like kick down the door and spread some like human like consciousness,
Some lady dust on there.
some lady dust.
um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like, so if we back it up even further, I think that for a long time, when I first started playing music and I wanted to pursue music, I had to acknowledge that I had a lot of like sexist beliefs and sexist tendencies. And it was like, I didn't want to be in an all girl band because I thought it was too gimmicky. I wanted to play with guys because I felt like I had something to prove. I had to prove that I could do it. I had to like be as good of a caliber as them. And so, looking back and reflecting on that, I did play in bands with guys, and then and it was great. And I love, my first band was the Peachtree, which is a hip hop group, an alternative rock hip hop group based out of Aurora.
Nice.
And so still love those guys, had a great time. But then I started playing with the Just Luckies, and that was when I pretty much stopped. I acknowledged the biases and the prejudice that I had in the past, and that's the first time that I was like, women can make music that's just as good as men, and they're just as good at musicians, and I'm having just as much, if not more, fun. And that's, one of the things, again, that we kind of talked about yesterday was the fact that it's like, we know as a society, like, we know that women can be just as awesome and just as talented as men, and we know that it's not about your gender, your sex, or anything like that. But where that ties in is that growing up, I never really had a chance to play in like the local bands in grade school, high school, etc., because it was such a boys club. It's like the other musicians were all boys, and they all wanted to play in a band together, and they didn't necessarily, I felt like an outsider.
Yeah.
I wasn't really included in that scene growing up. And so that's where I think we have a lot of work to do, is creating a community that fosters this presence for women. And I think that, Gritty and Pink, which is, again, one of the things that I'm working with Shira on, is bringing more women into the scene and giving them a place where they can be heard, where they can grow, where they can access resources, where they can, better themselves as musicians and have the same opportunities. And I think that, we've come a long way, but until we start seeing not just more female artists like singing, like, that's all great.
Yeah.
We've got, a lot of women that are out there, singing, but like more women behind the scenes, more women, playing in the bands, more female producers, more, people, more managers, more like, more women just involved as a whole. Right now, the whole music industry is still largely dominated by men who are in the decision-making positions.
And largely dominated by white men.
Yes. Yeah. Especially white men. So, and I think that, it's just a matter of just bringing, having a seat at the table and just, having a voice. And I think, we know that beautiful things can happen when we open ourselves up to that.
Well, it's like, even what you said about the food. It's like the best food in Los Angeles is everything that's not American. When you go to the UK, guess what you're not eating? What, like, the thing that London is most famous for is its Indian food. And it's like, because life is better with more flavors. And
I love that.
And it doesn't matter if it's food or music or people, diversity is what makes life great. Like, the things that make us different is what makes us beautiful, but we are all better together in that moment. And I think that that's like a big thing. You'd said about like how we're as women, what we're going against, and as female identifying people, what we're going against is the systemic misogyny of the music industry, and like, that's like such a dirty word, right, to say misogyny, because it's like, so many people immediately get bristly. But I mean, when you had said about having your own sexist bias, like, I have said many times in my younger years, it's like, I'm a misogynistic feminist, because I know that I have so much of that bullshit in my brain from being the only girl on tour with 3 other bandmates and a male crew guy, because I was just around it. I had to deal with it. It was like, it didn't matter what it is, like, because I can't pull over on this, I don't whip my dick out to pee. Like, it's like, no, I need to go around behind the bus to go pee and like squat, like, pardon me, like, dude, it's not that big a deal. Like, I'm fine with it. But like, I mean, but it affects touring, and it affects so many different things, and like the access that you have. And but it was always something that like really bothered me. Like, I didn't like just feeling like I was getting an opportunity just because I was a girl. It's like, no, I want to just be good because I'm good. Like, don't pat me on the head. Like, I will work harder just because I want to prove that I'm just good. And
Right.
I think that I know I didn't have a lot of good female role models in the like musically
Mm-hmm.
growing up. Like I remember seeing Cindy, like, do you remember seeing Cindy Blackman on the like on Lenny Kravitz's video back in the day? Are you gonna go
Mm-mm.
my way? Holy shit. When I got saw Cindy Blackman, because that was when she had like her really awesome afro, and like I just saw this woman slamming on drums. That changed my fucking life. And she came into she was in Guitar Center, I'm not Guitar Center, but Chicago Music Exchange the one time when Carlos Santana was in there. He was like playing this John Cruz master built Fender that I was also in love with, and I was like, holy shit, Carlos is like playing that guitar. And I was like, man, you know who his wife is, right? His wife's Cindy Blackman. And then I like went down to the drum shop and Cindy Blackman was there, and I was just like, oh, and I couldn't say shit to her because I was just like, I just like stared at her from like across the room, like that's kind of my MO. I did the same thing when Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers was there because it's like, I'm not, you're just here trying to shop. She was just trying to buy an old Slingerland snare drum. Like, leave the lady alone. She's got shit to do. But truly, like, it was such a big deal. And the only other, like, Sheila E., famous,
Mm-hmm.
but, and, oh gosh, what was her name? It was Kid Rock's drummer, Stephanie Eulenberg, I think it was. But, like, that was it. And everything else, like, I remember when Jewel happened and she was like singing her folk songs, and I was like all in love with that. And like the first Lilith Fair festival happened, and like I like went with my boyfriend at the time because I was like 16 or 17, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of lesbians here. Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know. I'm so oblivious, but like there just wasn't. And I think that so like Wilson Phillips was like a big thing because like in the MTV generation, right? And like incredible, but like that was all you got is like super produced pop music. And I remember the first time I heard Boy Genius, there's this harmony that they hit on one of their songs. I think it's on Bite the Hand That Feeds, but like they just hit this no, it's Me and My Dog. They hit this harmony on their song, Me and My Dog. I'm going to post this in the show notes. They hit this fucking harmony where they all come in, and it sounds just like a Wilson Phillips song to me. And I was just like, man, I would like to hear Wilson Phillips just on acoustic guitars, just like sitting around in their at their house, like singing in a studio like this. I want to hear them produce like this. Like that's what's missing from like was missing from music, and I'm just so glad that that's like a real thing now. Where like women are allowed to just make real music, sing about the things they actually care about. We can also write a song about touring, or it doesn't have to all be about being in love with a boy. What a concept. Yeah.
I love it. Right.
That's my rant.
No, I love it. And yeah, definitely link me to that because I want to check it out.
Oh,
But for me, I have to say that the first person that made me like realize that that it was out, because again, yeah, just not too many role models and whatnot out there. I mean, there were some.
mm-hmm.
Like I loved Joan Jett. I thought Joan Jett was super cool, and
Yeah.
loved her songs. But it really wasn't until I heard and saw Lita Ford that I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like her balls are every bit as big as the boys. Like she got out there because not only was she like, smoking hot and had like
Mm-hmm.
the bitchin' outfits and stuff, but she could shred, like she could throw down. And it really kind of changed my perception as a young angsty teenage girl, that didn't feel like I had any role models. I was like, okay, so now we got Lita. And I was fortunate enough that I was able to in 2019
Mm-hmm.
I got the chance to open for her at the Whiskey a Go Go, my band Icky Baby. Yeah, we got the chance to open for her, and yeah, it was just such an awesome, like, just an amazing, like, holy shit moment. Like, I grew up, idolizing this woman and just wanting to be the embodiment of her and everything, and then I get to like actually open for her, and so got to meet her before that, and she was like super cool, super nice. So which is also a plus because I know a lot of people will meet their heroes and they're not
Mm-hmm.
as cool and down to earth as you want them to be. But
Yeah.
she was rad. So yeah, so I'm super grateful for that. But yeah, I feel like, and I wasn't really, the problem was I wasn't going like, oh, why aren't there more women doing this? I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
well, obviously there aren't as many women doing it because I'm special.
Right. No, I
You
had
know?
the same thought.
Yeah.
Because I saw so few women represented, it was like, oh, well, guess they all just aren't good enough to do it. Like,
Right.
because again, I'm completely oblivious and
Yeah,
total
yeah.
ding
It's
dong.
this internalized misogyny that I feel like,
Hmm.
we have. So,
Yeah.
and then you get older and you start to see, the societal problems, and you're like, oh, that's because, systemic problems. Got it. Okay, now we can start working towards, addressing the issue. So,
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many systemic issues that have to get fixed, and misogyny being one of them. Honestly, well, obviously, the systemic racism, and because it's all and like, and so much. I think that between systemic misogyny and also racism, it's all policies that have to be changed, and
hmm
whether it's parental leave, let's just start there. I mean, like that's all built around capitalist, like women were at home kind of bullshit, and I think that all of these things are just kind of starting to get traction, and I think that um 2020 and now like coming out of that is definitely going to help it pick up a little bit more steam, because like all of a sudden we all had to be really human and deal with all of our really human stuff, and there's certain things that I think people aren't willing to go back on. So what's something that, coming out of quarantine in 2020, what's something that's changed in you that you're not willing to go back on?
Oof, that's a good one. That's a good question. I think I don't know. I guess I'm not going to take my opportunities to perform and to be around other people. Like that's something I'm traveling. Like I'm not gonna take it for granted anymore. And I have decided like if I when this is all said and done, yeah, I'm not going to compromise when it comes to an opportunity to go do something, to go play a show, to go travel, to go whatever. Before I've always kind of been as much as I love playing shows, I've always been a little bit of a homebody. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm not playing a show, I don't I don't mind being at home. I don't
Yeah.
mind hanging out by myself, reading books, practicing. Like
Mm-hmm.
again, when you grow up as an only child, you have to keep yourself entertained a lot of the time.
Right.
So I've gotten really good at that. And so getting out of my comfort zone and going to social events and like being around people is like, something that has definitely it's like a switch that's kind of flipped in me. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna let my social anxiety or my the idea of being outside of my comfort zone
Mm-hmm.
change or stop me from doing things. So I've decided I'm gonna like just take control over that and be as involved socially as I can, and because again, not only did we come out of a pandemic that forced us kind of all to stay home, but we lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so that really kind of, I think, puts into perspective how mortal we are. Not to
Mm-hmm.
get too dark, not to bring it down too much, but
Hey, this is the place. It's like,
this is real shit. We're
yeah,
talking
this is the
real
real
shit
shit.
here.
We get real here.
So so yeah, we lost a lot of people, and it really made me appreciate the people that I have in my life, and yeah, I think coming out of it is like I want to just live, because I also, not only did we have a pandemic, I turned 30, which was a bit of an existential crisis there, just
Yeah.
for a second, just because it's just like, holy shit, when you're a kid, you think 30 is like
Mm-hmm.
ancient.
Yeah.
You're like, when I'm 30, I'm gonna be a CEO, and I'm gonna have a big house and 4 children and a picket fence and all that shit. You just feel like you're just gonna have your shit together, and it's like I still leave my clothes in the laundry for days at a time in the dryer. Like they're in the dryer right now. Like
I'm 40 and they're in the dryer. Like I'm convinced that shit doesn't change unless you're in a position where you like have somebody that helps you do that. Because like I am a stay-at-home parent and I don't get the laundry folded because like who has time for that?
who
Like
has time for that
I
shit?
got 2 little kids, man. I ain't got time for that shit. I'm trying to run a podcast. I'm trying to be a musician. I've just got my first consulting gig. Like, mommy ain't got time for that shit. Like I just like gotta find time on a Tuesday. That's usually when I do it. It's like during cartoon time, after like all the laundry's like sat around for like a week and a half or 2 weeks. We've got like baskets of clean laundry strategically placed around the house.
Right.
It's like I just go into a quick panic and just like fold like a machine for 45 minutes. That's like the one advantage of like going to the laundromat is like I never was as dedicated to folding my laundry as when I was on tour and we had to like fold our we're at a laundromat because it's like they came in dirty in the suitcase, you wash them, they go in clean and folded in the suitcase and you go. That's the only time in my life I consistently folded laundry.
Amen to that. Amen to that. I have gotten really good at just, leaving the laundry in the dryer until like I'll put my clothes on, like I'll go get them from the dryer, put them on, and put them in the dirty clothes. And I've actually a couple times I've done it so well that I have completely emptied the dryer because I've worn everything that was clean and then it all had to go back in the dryer again. So and then having Patrick here, like, yeah, he's usually I'll have to go get it out if he needs to use the washer, the washer, not the war. In my neck of the woods, the washer. Yeah, that's what we used to say, the washer. My parents still say it, and it's like the cutest shit. Like, I love it.
Oh my gosh,
I love it.
Just accent stuff. I have the most mixed up accent because my mom, till the day she died, never lost her New York accent. But like my dad, he's a person like me that or was where like he could just assimilate so easily to like whoever he's like talking with. And you can ask Patrick this, but like you could always tell where the person was from that I was on the phone with at work because if they were a New Yorker, like it all came out like call, like all of that, like it would just come right out of me. And then if it was somebody like from the South, I'd be like, all right, so this is what we're going to do. All right. So yeah, we got to go on and do that. And like, oh my gosh, what did I say earlier today? I said clarity. And Tanya's like,
clarity?
Get out of here. I can't help it. I just like had a mixed up accent. And every once in a while I get a Midwestern A in there.
Those flat A's.
Yeah. What's do you got any good accents that you hear out in because LA is just such a mishmash of people. Right?
It is.
So like
no,
you
it totally is.
Every single accent ever out there.
It totally is. Our drummer in Patrick's band, Black Mill House, is Patrick's. I knew he was going to chime in. Like,
yeah, both of our spouses are all up in the comments about this right now.
Yeah, our spouses are just up in there talking shit, like calling us out. I love it. But yeah, I'm absolutely guilty of it. Like when we go back home, because my parents have a rural Midwestern accent, and it's hard to like if somebody asks me to do it, I can't do it on the spot. It's a lot of like. The words are not quite as enunciated. Like you're speaking and the sentences all just the words just all kind of run together. And again, yeah, like the flatter A's, the warsh, adding R's where you don't really need R's. I have a quick, really brief, funny story about that. So, one of my favorite foods is tikka masala, which is Indian food. Yeah. And it's so good. And I eat it like once a week, right?
Delicious.
It's so delicious. So my parents, I was telling them about it. I even made them try it. It wasn't for them, because they got that Midwest rural, palate. Anything that's like spicier than corn is like too much. So
spicier than corn.
Anything spicier than corn, they can't do it. So
tomatoes. Yeah, we had the one friend back home that was my parents' friend that would like ketchup was too spicy for her. And it was like, really, Louise? Really? Keep going.
Right. So when we were planning our wedding, my mom found the caterer that we were hiring. They had an option for chicken marsala, and so you can probably already guess where this is going. Like she thought that it was the same thing that I like because she adds R's to everything. It's masala. But she thought it was marsala because that's how she would pronounce it. And so we had chicken marsala for our wedding dinner, our wedding meal, because she thought she was getting tikka masala. I was like, that's really weird that they would have that particular catering company would have tikka masala as an option. But cool, whatever. And then we got it, and I was like, oh, Mom, bless your heart. You meant tikka masala, not chicken marsala. But
that's funny. I didn't see, and that's something else. I didn't know that bless your heart was also a Midwestern thing. I thought that was just a Southern thing. I thought that was all us.
It's like, again, the rural Midwest has a lot in common with the South, I think. And I haven't spent a ton of time in the South, but I feel like there's a lot of those like, little phrases have kind of worked their way up,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
into like, yeah, Southern Illinois, Indiana, like rural Ohio and stuff. So yeah, you start to hear things like that. The what for? One time
Yeah.
I told Patrick, I said, yeah, I was giving her the what for. And he's like, what the fuck does that mean? And I was like, yeah, like you're chewing them out. You're like, you know, giving them shit. Like, I don't know, you're giving them the what for. And so he's like, I've never heard that in my life. You're crazy. So,
I don't know that one.
you don't know that one? Okay. There you go. There's a new
Yeah,
one.
I had one that I had dropped to a friend that she gave me shit about it endlessly, but it was like, yeah, we had all that to boot and blah blah blah, and she's like, to boot. And I was like, I don't know, it just means like in addition to, like also with, like I don't know. And oh my god. Yeah. We could go down like an entire like
You could have a whole
idioms
segment
of the rural America and how common rural America is. So let's go back to quarantine. It's a big topic still on the show. Like, what was you had a quarantine hobby that you started with classic horror films.
Yeah, so
How far did you get through your spreadsheet?
Oh gosh, it's been a while. I'm not gonna lie, and part of that is because we got a Shudder subscription, and so now we've just been like binging everything that's on Shudder.
Yeah.
Which for anybody out there that's not familiar, it's like a subscription. It's a channel that just everything's horror, and you can like, you know, they've got original content, they've got a lot of classic movies and stuff, and so we've actually. I've knocked out a lot of the big ones. So we've covered I had never seen the original like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. Like I've seen some of them. Like I think I saw Friday the 13th part 6 like forever ago, and I loved it. And then I'm like, okay, but I need to like go back and actually watch like the Friday the 13th, and I need to knock out these and like the classic horror too, with like the Universal monsters and like Dracula and Frankenstein. And I'm like, I know the stories, you know, we have the books and all that, but like I haven't actually seen the movie. So yeah, we literally made a spreadsheet of like, here's like, it's an Excel sheet because we're both, you know, administrative professionals. And so that's what we do. Yeah. So we made an Excel spreadsheet. We're like, okay, here's all of the movies that we want to see. Here's the column where Alex has seen it, and then has Patrick seen it. And so we have like yes and no. So the first thing that we did was like, okay,
did you color code? Wait.
We did color code. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, we color code. Green for yes and in for no.
What's the point of knowing all of these Excel formulas if you aren't going to color code your horror movie spreadsheet? Like, it makes my brain happy. Keep going.
Absolutely. So like, and it's funny because like when we travel, like we do this stuff too. Like we map everything out. We're like, okay, let's start a spreadsheet and let's know have like columns for the different things that we know that we're going to need. So we did that for the horror movies. And so the first thing we did was we're like, okay, let's check off the ones that we both for sure haven't seen. And I can't remember, there really weren't too many of them because Patrick has like an 8-year head start on life from me. So,
right.
So he's had a chance to see more movies than I have. But yeah, we knocked a bunch of them out, and it's been just a fun, like really just silly, exciting way of just passing the time. It's like, okay, well, we're really limited in what we can do and how we can entertain ourselves. So let's make a goal to see X many movies and what we want to watch, and let's just like knock them out.
What's the worst one you watched where you were just like, this is fucking garbage?
Oh my God, what is the worst one that I watched? Okay. I'm not going to say it's the worst. It's not garbage.
One of.
Right. I wouldn't say that it's garbage. But I think like the most ridiculous one that we had on our list that we watched was Christine, the Stephen King car movie. Yeah. It's just the most ridiculous shit. Like I don't know, because I'm so used to like, I feel like you've got like with Stephen King, you have like, Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption and these just really beautiful stories, and you've got even like Pet Sematary and Carrie and like these like genuinely scary stories, and then you've got fucking Christine, which was just like, yeah, what if a car, it's like he did a bunch of drugs and was like, okay, but what if a car came to life and started killing people? And that's like the whole story. Exactly. Like that's absolutely where that came from. So I loved it because I love just the most over the top ridiculous horror. I love like Evil Dead is probably my favorite horror movie like franchise of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So like I love Evil Dead, all of the Evil Deads. I love Dead Alive, which is just this like extremely corny 80s movie. And I forget who directed it, but yeah, just the more over the top, the better for me personally. So
Killer Clowns from Outer Space, you've seen,
Killer Clowns
obviously.
from Outer Space, like
I
yes,
mean,
like just absurd. Like I love the absurd shit, like
yeah.
to where it's like so like it just ends up being comedic, right? It just ends up
Mm-hmm.
making you laugh. So that's what I'm here for. That's my jam.
That's your jam. And so it's not like necessarily like actual morbid death stuff necessarily. It's also Killer Clowns from Outer Space, where like it's the gun that like melts you with the cotton candy.
Yes, I mean I like both of them, and that's what I love about the horror genre is that it is
Mm-hmm.
like when you think of horror, like you don't typically just think of like one thing. It's like you
Yeah.
can be this, you can have like psychological thrillers, you can have, gore, you can have, suspense, you can have like all of these
Mm-hmm.
different genres and types. And I love all of them.
Yeah.
One of my favorite horror movies that's like legitimate horror movies that's come out in a long time has been Midsummer.
I haven't seen that yet.
You haven't seen? Okay,
Because
definitely.
I gotta watch them. I gotta watch it by myself. Tanya's not into that shit. That's
This one
not
is
her
like,
jam.
it's not really like your typical horror movie. It's not like, it's not bloody.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically it's like about a cult, right?
Yeah.
It's about this cult in northern Sweden, and it's very much like a psychological thing, and it's very satisfying. Like again, going back to like what my favorite movies are, it's like if you have this like really satisfying ending,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for it, and it absolutely is. So
yeah, I felt like
read,
one of the yeah. See, I told
she's
you.
like, I read the spoilers. It's fucked up. It is fucked up, but it is satisfying. I will tell you that.
Yeah, like the I gotta say the best ballet I've ever been to was we saw where they did Midsummer Night Dream as a ballet, and it was like holy shit, there's this whole scene with like they're in the wheat and they're like dancing with it. It was amazing. Anyway, but like one of my favorite horror movies that I had seen more recently was The Witch. And like
Yes.
I love stuff that like my kind of horror jam is either is all like based on real life stuff, because I think that so often like reality is stranger and crazier than fiction.
Mm-hmm.
So like whether it's real life ghost stuff or possession stuff, like Exorcism of Emily Rose is like one of my favorites of all time.
I love that one.
Oh,
I love that one.
God, that movie's so good. But yeah, The Witch, like that one really messed me up, because it's like, oh my God, this like just the mentality of like what went down with like, you think about the time period that it was made in, and of course you have to have like subtitles on, because like they did it all in like the proper vernacular and it's so hard to understand them. But like, yeah, like that whole time period, and like where everybody was like, oh no, you're the devil, and it's like, no, she just has her period, probably, like it's probably fine.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, The Witch is up there too. That is definitely one of my favorite. In fact, we're gonna go on a quick little field trip. I'm just gonna spin this around.
Do it.
So you can't really tell, but that is Black Phillip on our wall right behind.
I should have worn I have a fucking Black Phillip shirt. I should have worn my Black Phillip shirt tonight. I try to like remember to like wear a t-shirt that's appropriate for my guests, just for me. It's only for me. Like last week I was talking to my friend Wick. He's like a bass player, works at a music store. I'm like, wore my Fender shirt.
Nice.
Damn. I was like looking through my drawer today, because I had on this like red striped shirt today. I was like, nope, not wearing that. That makes my breasts look fucking gigantic. And like, I am not doing that on the intro when I'm by myself. And so, man, I was looking through my drawer and I was like, yeah, this shirt's a little too emo. That's not really Alex's style. I'll just put on a gray shirt. I missed my chance. I'm wearing Black Phillip tomorrow just for you.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
I got our old, it was me. So I learned about that movie from my friend that used to work in accounting at Chicago Music Exchange. And our buddy, we used to, I don't know why, these are weird things that I do. Your husband can attest to this. But the guy that used to work in the receiving department, Justin Cape at Chicago Music Exchange, for whatever reason, I used to bat like a goat and headbutt him. It's weird musician things. It's a drummer thing. I don't know. I
It
am
sounds
me.
like a drummer thing. I totally
I
get
make
it.
no apologies for who I am. I'm just telling you. I understand that it's weird and it's fine.
I
But
love
when
it.
he was super into the witch too, so I got us these matching Black Phillip shirts, and I just love the shirt. It makes me happy. I think of him, and man, like when quarantine's over, I'm gonna find that guy. I'm gonna fucking headbutt him.
That is the best post quarantine goal anybody could have. In fact, like that needs to be a shirt. It's like as soon as quarantine's over, I'm gonna find that guy. I'm gonna fucking headbutt him. Like, oh,
There's something
so
about a
good.
good headbutt, man. Like, oh, anyway, we could go down that road, but yeah. So, what do you think really kind of sparked your fascination with horror? Was there anything, or did it just always kind of tweak your interest?
I've always been a horror nerd, and I think a lot of it, I got a lot of it's from coming from my mom being a huge fan of horror, and so we always had
Mm,
horror movies on. I was from an early age, like my parents never really kept me um, from watching scary movies or anything. They were
mm-hmm.
never too worried that I was gonna have nightmares or whatever. If I did watch something and I had nightmares, they were very mature about it and like explain like, okay, this is just a bad dream, like it's not real, etc. So like, yeah, my parents have always had like horror movies, like I remember watching the Saw movies when they came out, like with my family, and
Oh
like,
God.
yeah. So I think it kind of came from that, and then I've just always I love Halloween, and so I love like
Mm-hmm.
uh I love everything to do with like that time of the year. um, and I've anytime like there's a horror movie on or a scary movie on, I get so excited.
Yeah.
Actually, so I can actually tell you like the moment I feel like that it was evident that I was going to be a horror nerd for life, and it was like growing up. Do you remember Tales from the Crypt?
Oh, I love Tales from the Crypt. Like that was the best when we would go on vacation and there was HBO and we could watch that. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
right. So
Yeah.
so my parents would watch Tales from the Crypt because they loved it. And when I was like, and I remember this. This is like one of my first memories as a kid, is I remember being like 3, 4 years old, and I would hear that intro, the gate opening,
Mm-hmm.
and I would come running from wherever I was in the house. I would come running, and I had to watch the Crypt Keeper. I was obsessed with the Crypt Keeper. I loved him. I actually didn't give a shit about the show itself. I didn't
Right.
really care. I like it was because it was all adult, at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I loved the Crypt Keeper because he was a puppet and he
Mm-hmm.
was in this like spooky dungeon and he had this creepy laugh and he
Yeah.
told these silly jokes. So I was just fascinated with him. And so to the point where it's like, my parents would be like, "Oh, what do you want to watch tonight?" And I would say, "I want to watch The Crypt Keeper."
That's
So that was like the
hilarious.
first horror, like my introduction to horror, and that's like, it's been a lifelong thing ever since. In fact, we got to meet Patrick and I sometimes work at we work at the Mystic Museum, like
Mm-hmm.
their art shows,
Mm-hmm.
which is like this. It's an occult museum, and they do art exhibits.
Mm-hmm.
They had like a Tales from the Crypt exhibit,
Mm-hmm.
and John Kassir, who is the voice of the Crypt Keeper, came. And I was just like total fangirl. Like
That's
I was just
wild.
like so like over the top. Yeah, so got to meet him, got to hear him talk in the voice, and it was like I peaked. Like that was the moment for me. I was
That was
getting
even
to
better than Lita Ford.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was like, I was stoked to meet Lita Ford, but I was just like, you were my first crush, and he's just like, are you okay? Um, but no, I love it. And Yeah, right now we're watching the Creep Show, which is on Shudder, and it is very similar in that every single episode is like a different. You've got different horror stars in each episode. It's a different story,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that format. I love that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, different episode every week. So
I
yeah.
love that. I think that one of the things that people don't necessarily expect from people that are really into like horror or even metal music is like you are one of the nicest people I know, and I feel like that's not what people expect. Is where it's like the metal bands have always been the nicest bands that I know. My friends that are like really into horror, we've got like some neighbors that are like really like they go all out for Halloween, like super like there's a couple of their like decorations that like our kids are like a little creeped out by, and like we don't make any big thing about it. They're just like, oh no, it's just a decoration. That's just fun. But like they go all out, the nicest neighbors. It just makes me so happy because I think that I was thinking about this the one day and I started to like kind of write something about it to like do a blog. Like I have these sticky notes that I write and I leave them around the house. So like if you've ever seen like where on like I haven't posted one in a while, but if you ever see on my Instagram where like I like write something on like a notepad, this is literally like they are all over the house. And Tanya's like, why do you leave these? I feel like I'm not supposed to read them. I'm like, no, they're fine. We're like, read it. Because if it's stupid, say something. And one of the things that I was like really thinking about is like one of the reasons I think that women are more empathetic and compassionate is because once a month we have to face our mortality as we just bleed out, and like how like ingrained misogyny, like how I'm almost 41 years old and just now, oh yeah, periods, they happen, and like it's fine, you can talk about it. Because it's like, oh no, you can't, because I'm around guys. It's like, oh no, that's weird. Oh, that's gross. And it's like, fair, it's a little gross, but it's not weird.
Right,
Like,
right. It's like the most natural shit that there is. Like, you know.
And I think that that's like one of the reasons that like women can be just like so much more chill about a lot of that kind of stuff. It's because like, no, it's just a little blood.
Yeah, we're not fazed so much by the blood scenes, you know, because we're like, oh, we see it all the time. Like, what's your problem?
Yeah.
I get that, and I think that to kind of like piggyback on that idea, I think that you know, like you said, metal people that play metal, people that are really into horror, like we tend to be the nicest people, and I've noticed that too. You know, the horror community is like so welcoming and so nice and awesome. And I think a lot of it also stems from the fact that, you know, this applies to really any weirdos. Like, I feel like the people that are, you know, living their most honest life and being the most, you know, true to themselves and really, you know, embracing the things that they love, those people know how to treat others because they know what it's like to be different, or, you know, they want to be accepted for who they are. So it's like that golden rule kind of really applies.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, if you're just, you know, living your truth, you're embracing the things that make you happy, then, you know, why not be, you know, kind and cool to other people, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, because you're not living with, there's not like that built up bullshit shame because
Right.
you're like hiding who you are. It's like, no, this is who I am. I'm a big old weirdo. Like, I don't care
Exactly.
if you think I'm cool. Like, I like what I like, and there are my people. And I think that that's really what everybody's searching for, right? We're all just searching to connect with our people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thanks for being one of my people.
Yes. Thank you for being one of my people. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out and chat me up a little bit. Let me chat you up a little bit.
Of course.
So
yeah, my pleasure.
Find you? What's the little plugs you can need to get in there?
Cool. So just Alex Nicole Windsor on all social media. So yeah, here, Facebook. I'm on TikTok. Same thing. If you want to watch me, you know, play ridiculous covers of songs, then that's the thing. Alex Nicole Windsor. And yeah. Hit me up. Let me know. Like, chat me up about horror, music, whatever you got. I'm always excited to hear about things that excite other people. So
yeah, and you write about it in Guitar Girl magazine sometimes. So yeah,
I do.
Like yeah, so
I do.
Give your husband a big hug for me.
I will.
And make him give you an extra squeeze for me.
I will.
And I love you, and thank you so much for hanging out tonight, Alex.
I love you too. Thank you for having me. Talk soon.
All right, bye now.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.